Coming up next on Headline Humboldt, a tax that was suspended for the past 2 years to help cannabis farmers deal with poor market conditions will go back into effect, though now at a temporarily lowered rate. Also, we interview Solomon Everta from I Like Eureka Housing about their opposition to the Rob Arkley-led Housing for All and Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Coming up now on Headline Humboldt. From the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. Local businessman Rob Arkley has done a pretty good job over the past decade or so staying out of the local limelight. It hasn't always been that way. Roughly 20 years ago, Arkley and his wife Sherry were much more involved in local developments and politics, a period that is best exemplified by his wife's run for mayor, which she lost to former mayor Peter LaValle. Because the Times Standard at the time chose to endorse LaValle and not Sherry Arkley, a feud was hatched between Arkley and the paper's managing editor at the time, Charles Winkler. Over the next several years, this feud resulted in the establishment of a new daily paper, the Eureka Reporter, whose expressed purpose was to put the Times Standard out of business. It was a good, old-fashioned newspaper war, and one in which I and several of my co-workers at the time would play supportive roles. For journalism, it was a golden age in Humboldt County. More voices, no matter their backing, are always better than fewer. And the competition from Arkley forced the Times Standard's billionaire owner at the time, Dean Singleton, to dedicate more and better resources to our production. Eventually, however, Arkley lost the war, and in the wake of that loss, took a lot of his toys and absconded to Baton Rouge. Since that period and since the economic downturn of 2008, Arkley has been less of a force in local politics, but as our stories tonight will show, that may be changing both locally and elsewhere. So let's be clear off the top. Arkley and his company have done a lot for Humboldt County. He's also been prone over the years to make his differences with others in politics and business very personal. The question before us today, however, is not about the man. It's about the policy he's trying to install for guiding the future development of affordable housing in Eureka. In other words, it's not personal, it's just the news. Speaking of which, tonight we start with the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors' decision this week to reinstate a portion of Measure S taxes. The board voted unanimously, with Supervisor Michelle Bushnell abstaining, to reinstate the cannabis cultivation tax at 10% for the 2024 cultivation year. The taxes will be owed in 2025. Cannabis farmers with outstanding balances, meanwhile, will be expected to establish a payment plan with the county by June 30th, 2024 to prevent the suspension of their permits. The decision to put the tax back to work comes 1 year after supervisors voted to temporarily suspend the tax. The suspension was meant in part to help farmers pay down their outstanding tax debt. Several farmers asked for the suspension to continue, especially given the uncertainty arising from a proposed new county initiative, Measure A, that could change the outlook for farmers in Humboldt County. Ross Gordon from the Humboldt County Growers Alliance said the market was still bad for farmers and that many have had to sell their product at a loss.
For some background, we did surveying of our members. This was around last year at this time, and found that under those market conditions, 65% of cannabis farmers were selling below cost of production, meaning essentially they were paying money to grow cannabis. Another 20% were breaking even, and about 15% were turning a small profit. So if we look at how market conditions have changed over the past year, we do hear anecdotally from some farmers that the market has picked up a little bit. But if you look at the data, and there's cannabis benchmarks data, which actually show between August 2022 and July 2023, the weighted wholesale average for cannabis actually dropped from $815 a pound to $765 a pound in California. So we're seeing about the same, maybe even reduced market conditions depending on how you measure it. And for reference, this is compared to $1,489 a pound in July 2021. So we're still seeing the market cut about in half from where it was at its peak.
Supervisors settled on an amount for the tax that they called fair to both the struggling farmers and its own budget, which this year was $17 million in the hole.
Measure S was never intended to be about new permits. That is a kind of a indicator of the health or lack thereof of the industry, but it was about ongoing needs in communities that are unmet. And so I agree that a small percentage, whether that's 10 or 15%, could be something that could help. while, recognizing that people's profits have been cut by a significant amount due to the downturn in the industry. So I'm open to that. I just, I don't think we can fully defer over and over and over again while still respecting the will of the voters. So I think finding some middle ground is what I believe we need to do in this instance.
Just like various farmers and cannabis industry permit holders have a lot of choices and responsibilities to balance their budgets within their operations, we too at the county have that responsibility. And whether or not you know it or not, our budget this year is $17 million in the hole, $17 million. We took that out of our reserves. Our reserves, I think, were only about $27 million. So we have maybe about $10 million or so left in our reserves. So we can't do that again. I've stated this before. I always thought that Measure S was, the wrong way to go. I always thought that tax should have been at the dispensary level, frankly, because the consumer is going to pay that no matter what, whether it's on the farmer or the distributor or the dispensary, the consumer is paying it. And I thought it was quite interesting that when the price of cannabis dropped in many cases down to $400 or even $200 a pound, we were hearing horror stories of that, not just $600 or $700 a pound, but when that happened, well, the eighths at the dispensary certainly didn't go down to $5 or $10 an eighth. So who was making the money here? Not the farmers. I don't think they were. I know that it was an extreme hardship. But that's not what we have. Right now we do have a Measure S tax. And frankly, it was actually supported in a great way by the industry because they wanted to be able to say to the community, we too want to be responsible members of the community and we want to contribute. I just think the tax should have never been applied in that way. But that's what the voters chose to do. And all we can do is reduce the tax. We can't eliminate it. We did waive it for 2 years and we did reduce it by 85% in 2021, I believe it was. So we had an 85% reduction and now we've had 2 years with 100% reduction of that tax. I would support going back to a 10% or 15% tax for the cultivation year 2024. I think that's what we are talking about. And of course, that becomes due in May and October of 2025.
And in other news, as advertised, a local name has come up in the ongoing battle over Supreme Court ethics. Rob Arkley, Humboldt County native and reportedly a billionaire, was sent a letter by the Senate Judiciary Committee demanding that he explain himself. Not the kind of letter you want to get, usually. The committee is investigating the rather intimate relationship between conservative justices on the U.S. Supreme Court and billionaire donors. Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito have come under fire for not disclosing various gifts from conservative benefactors. Arkley is one such, having taken Alito on a luxury Alaskan fishing trip in 2008. In a letter issued this week to Arkley's Security National, committee members say Arkley has refused to cooperate with their investigation. The letter was signed by Senators Dick Durbin, Richard Blumenthal, Sheldon Whitehouse, Amy Klobuchar, and Cory Booker. The committee is considering reforms to beef up ethics rules and standards that apply to the court and requested from Arkley itemized lists of gifts from him and from others to that end. We're joined now by Solomon Everta. He's a Old Town business owner. He owns Eureka Books, which is a public service all by itself. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're here to talk about the what's been called the Housing for All and Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is one of those titles where, of course, I want to support downtown revitalization and affordable housing. But your group, the I Like Eureka Housing, says the devil is in the details. So first, let's start with your biography. You got Eureka Books. When did you go into business, and how do you like operating in Old Town?
Oh yeah, I've worked there for several years, but just the last year and a half, I've owned Eureka Books, and then about 5 months ago, I actually purchased the building as well. So it's good times, a lot of work, but I'm up for it, and I've got a great staff that really makes it all happen.
Yeah, so people go down there and buy some books because it's an important thing to do. But you're someone who's invested then in how this is going to come out, because Arkley and his allies are saying that basically housing is important, and he's got a project that he's pointing to that he wants to get developed, which is at the Zoe Barnum site, which seems to be kind of a partnership package deal with this initiative, although it's not in the initiative itself. that parking is such a problem in Old Town that without it, businesses may go under. Do you experience parking as that big of a problem with your business? And do you think the loss of a parking lot to build a affordable housing unit wouldn't have too much of a detrimental effect?
Well, this isn't a parking versus housing issue. It's actually just it's a deceptively titled initiative that that says it's housing for all, but in fact it's actually endangering housing in Eureka. The parking issue definitely needs to be addressed, and this just isn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
We can find a way to find some solutions for parking in Old Town. We have people come and say that they have trouble finding some parking, but I have the business that has no parking spots in front of it, and still we've been going for 35 years there at the location. So it's people find their way.
People find their way.
Yeah.
And anytime that you go to any city where it's busy, it's often difficult to find a parking space right next to the business you want to go to. If you've got to walk a couple of blocks, I think it's become prohibitive sometimes in our country to walk a couple blocks to get to the business you want. And I don't know that that's necessarily healthy as far as it goes. So one of the things that they've said in response to the opposition that's come out is that they're not opposed to the Dishgamu project, which is the rehabilitation or the reconstruction of 2 parking lots in Eureka at 5th and L Streets and 6th and E Streets as affordable housing projects. Does that make you feel any better about their motive, that they're not actually going against those particular projects, or what?
Oh, it's a strategic move on their part, of course, to not get the Wiyot tribe against them. It wouldn't make sense. But on the whole, the initiative doesn't do what it purports to do. And that's the real problem here, is that if we want to deal with housing issues, then we can deal with housing issues. If we want to deal with parking issues, we can deal with parking issues.
Yeah.
But this initiative doesn't do what it claims to do. It's not going to bring economic vitality to Eureka. It's not going to provide housing for Eureka. It's going to rezone something and make it more difficult, and then it's going to develop on that particular site, and it's going to keep all plans that are already in process to build housing from happening. And so there are plans on these lots that the city owns. The city can only work with the lots that they have.
Yeah.
The lots that they have are parking lots. These things are subsidized by the community to provide parking for businesses for decades.
Yeah.
There's a larger need that's going on.
Yeah.
Anybody that has tried to rent in Eureka knows that the rent is going up and up and up, and it's too high.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is there's not enough housing stock.
Yeah.
The city is making efforts to actually just address this and do their job to meet the housing element, which is dictated by the state, that we have to reach certain numbers.
Absolutely.
So they're taking the action they can.
Yeah.
They're utilizing the properties they have and saying, well, we'll make this into housing, and that'll provide some housing.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. They're trying to do it, and so to have a well-funded campaign attempt to try to undermine this public process that we've gone to get to having this proposal to do these to develop these lots, it's just really kind of anti-democratic.
Yeah. One of the things that people might say is that people are against it just because it's Rob Barkley. I want to give you a chance to sort of respond to that. And why is this not just about the man?
Oh, it's just about the plan. It doesn't do what it says it's going to do.
Yeah.
If you look into it, there's no. We have a plan. The city has put together a plan through a public process to develop these lots.
Yeah.
And this is basically just stopping that from happening.
Yeah.
So it's not really about that. The putting in the parking requirement for any kind of development that occurs is making it so it's prohibitive to develop more housing. Therefore, less housing will get built. The housing will be more expensive. Yeah. So it's just going to make housing more expensive and less available for people, and it's going to just be a detriment to our community.
Now, from your read of the situation, how would the passage of this serve to enrich Arkley or the people who are putting this forward?
You have to ask them.
Okay.
That's not my game, but some people do play that game, and a lot of people are caught in the crossfire from that.
Yeah.
And so, you can wrap whatever your program and your plan and what you're doing in a housing for all and economic vitality, but that's not it. And I think this is pretty sad that someone would think that they could pull the wool over the eyes of the people of Eureka. Regular working people who actually work in Eureka and live in Eureka unlike some other people who have multiple houses around the country, local people will be able to see through this.
Yeah.
And I feel confident that with the support of the community, we're going to be able to have a good campaign that's against this. We're going to need people to get out and come help us canvass and spread the word in their community, and donate, of course, to our campaign in order to get a small fraction of the money that is arrayed against us at this time.
Yeah. We found ourselves in this position repeatedly with, and I don't want to just point to Rob Arkley, but it's been Rob behind a lot of it. I mean, there was the effort back in the late 90s to bring in a Walmart, and the balloon track issue, the Marina Center, and now this. What do you think it says about the community that they rally around their land use issues and kind of form major political alliances to kind of keep the community from developing ways that they don't find beneficial?
Yeah, I think the Eureka community is pretty savvy about what's going on, and we understand, and we appreciate the, efforts that small business owners do to make the community a great place to live. And I get to talk to people from all over the world who come and visit us, and people who come every year on their vacation and come and stop in specifically to come down to Old Town Eureka because of the work that we've done to make this great community. Our community really does stick together and make us a beautiful place to be. We have problems, and we try to address those problems, and that's what the city's been doing. We've had a very active city council that says, hey, we've got to meet our housing element. We've got numbers that are provided by the state that we need to meet, otherwise we're endangering millions of dollars in grant funding. If the so-called Housing for All initiative passes, those millions of dollars of grant funding will be in jeopardy, and that will prevent us from building supporting the housing and other programs that are essential to keeping Eureka vital.
Could you go into that a little bit more about the grant funding? I've heard this from Lulu last week, that by switching horses at this point, it would potentially jeopardize millions of dollars that the city's already got approved. Do you know any more details about that? Or
that's not. Yeah, Lulu's probably a better person to talk to about that.
She's great and very smart.
Yeah, but just my understanding is, each city has a housing element, and the housing element is to meet goals that are set by the state based upon your population. Say you need this much housing and this much affordable housing in order to meet the needs of the state and so that we can address the issues of homelessness and economic vitality. So, and so. That's what the city has done, is to say, what are the tools in our toolbox? And it's like, we have these properties that are parking lots, and this is the property that we have. It's in Old Town, it's in downtown. These are places where people could live, walk to work, walk to the businesses, be there, just come downstairs and then go to the pizzeria, go to the bookstore, and do all those things. So, so that housing element is really important. If this initiative passes, the so-called Housing for All initiative passes, that will jeopardize that, because we will not be able to meet those targets. The work that the city's doing to get those 5 parcels in, and that's over 199, at least 199 units, to get those into place will help us meet that housing element.
Absolutely.
So it has to be public, but also private in order to meet those goals. And the public's doing their part, and this initiative would prevent us from doing that, and then we don't meet the goal, then we don't get the funding from the grants from the state.
To sort of get at some of the issues that play here, Arkley has sued the county before for not meeting the number of housing units that were promised to be constructed under the housing element. He sued the county for failing to do that, even as now he's basically, it seems like, potentially going to throw a wrench in the works to stop the development of housing in Eureka if his initiative is successful. The development at the Zoe Barnum's site, which could be hundreds of units, they say, it's not actually in the purview of the city to decide what happens to that property, correct?
Sure. As the initiative is saying, let's zone that property to be housing, but that doesn't make housing magically appear.
Yeah.
And so you have to have somebody who's interested in it, and sure, you can say that there are people waiting to do that, but it has to be happening. Now, the parcels in the city, we're in process of getting those developed, Yeah. And so that the Jacobs campus, where I actually worked 2 years in AmeriCorps, so right on, and doing there, and I love that neighborhood and community. I worked there for a couple of years, and but it's owned by the Eureka City Schools, and so the city of Eureka attempted to purchase that property to do exactly what the initiative is trying to force through zoning. we can't make it happen.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's kind of like this magical thinking, which I'm all for. I'm all for like telling stories and imagining things that are happening, but there's just a little bit of flaw in this story. You got to step back and say like, okay, what's really going to happen and what's really already happening? And what's really going on is they're trying to stop action that's happening from the city.
Yeah, that's one of my next question was, some people might say this would be an end run around the city council's authority by going directly to the voters. And I mean, it's something that you often see with initiatives, either statewide or in other states, where you have an issue where people want to, get at something directly, but they kind of take an indirect approach to it, give something a snappy title that people feel like they can vote for by reading it on the surface. And really what it does is something that's more sort of undercover or in the shadows to make some change. And I wonder if could be the interpretation of what's happening here.
Well, I think Eureka voters are smart. We've dealt with initiatives by well-funded millionaires to try to determine what's going to happen in Eureka, and we can actually make those decisions on our own, and we're not going to be fooled by this so-called Housing for All initiative, because we know that we can do that without this initiative. So it's going to happen. We're going to have a vote, and I think that we are going to vote this initiative down as a community, but it will take some effort, and I do encourage folks to like join us in going out and canvassing. It's just a great opportunity to go and meet your neighbors and to go and talk to your neighbors about this, and we can disagree, and some people will vote for it, but I feel confident that the majority of Eureka voters, once they actually look into it and have some conversations with some unpaid canvassers, just your neighbors coming around to talk with you, that will understand that this is just a hoax and it's not really a great thing for our community.
Yeah, one of the things that your press release criticized the Housing for All initiative on is the paid signature aspect of it, that people were paid to go out and paid a fair amount to go out and collect signatures. Can you describe for me why you view that as problematic?
Hey, well, sometimes there are campaigns that need to happen quickly, and that happens, right? But this is pretty clear what's going on, is that it's hard to get people behind this, and you have to actually kind of not really tell the whole story in order to get those signatures. And we had to deal with a lot of people who we've been talking to say like, oh, I misunderstood. I didn't realize what this was. It says Housing for All and economic vitality. I love that. And we're like, oh, that's, here's what it actually does, and here's why it's bad. And people have actually gone in and like rescinded their signature off the original thing in order to like do that. They still got their signatures. It's still on the ballot. There's enough people that want to see it put forward as a question. Great. Let's have the question, and I trust that we're all going to vote it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that Michael Munson said, and we talked about this a little bit already, but that if you take out the parking from those two parking lots, potentially businesses could wither and die in Old Town. How is business in Old Town, and is it that on the precipice, or is that an exaggeration kind of to generate fear or concern?
Well, that may be true, that it is that effort to try to just do a little scaremongering. But honestly, I talk with and interact usually online with a lot of the other business owners in Old Town, and it's a rough time for us, and we've had a lot of construction. If you've been down in Old Town, you've seen that, and while it's leading to nice new paved streets and new upgraded facades and new buildings, even new restaurants and all these things, during the time it's pretty rough. So like right now, we definitely could use a lot more local folks to be coming down and doing some shopping in Old Town. We got sales going on, and it's rough. It is challenging, and parking is an issue again. It is a thing that we need to deal with, but this isn't the tool. We need to find the right tool to deal with parking rather than this initiative, which is trying to stop housing, which will jeopardize other things. Let's have a frank conversation about parking and other methods that we can do to make this a more walkable and maybe more visitor-friendly area for people to come to.
Yeah, one of the things that Michael Munson also said that I wanted to give you a chance to respond to, we had Michael Munson for the initiative on the show on September 1st, so if people want to watch that, they can go and find it on YouTube. But one of the things he said, or sort of implied, was that this is part of an effort to make Eureka kind of like not car-friendly, to basically encourage an environment where we've evolved beyond the car, and kind of it made it seem like a green goal. That's not where you guys are coming from, correct?
I love Mike's vision of a green future for Old Town Eureka, but This isn't what that's about.
Yeah.
This is about somebody with a well-funded campaign attempting to come in and subvert the will of the public that have gone through much public process in order to create these areas where we can develop housing, we can bring the price of housing and rental down so that it's affordable for all, but not just all, but for actually up to somebody making a little over $20 an hour. I mean, that's not like, some, funky person that's going to come and move into Old Town. That's like just people working at the cafe, people working at my bookstore, or people working at Security National. Like, so we're all in the same boat. We need to make these places so that it's affordable again.
One of the things that I mentioned that we were going to do, we have a website address. If we can take that up, I'm looking around for it like it's on my desk. But we have a website for you. Now, if people wanted to get involved and they wanted to help, what would you suggest they could do? Should they just go to your website to see where they can donate, or are you also looking for volunteers? What do you have to offer? Yeah, for sure. That website you can donate, but also you can get information about that and kind of sign up, or so that we can get in touch with you and we can go out and do some canvassing, or you can do some tabling depending on what your body allows for. Yeah. And we can go out and actually learn about this thing and spread the word about that this is really a rich man's attempt to overtake the public will, and instead we're going to say no, and we're going to work through our processes to make a better Eureka. One of the things I noticed, and I guess this would be our last question, was that your press release had a lot of impressive names on it. I mean, you look through it and it's kind of an all-star list of politicians and Eureka public figures. Why do you think that they are attracted to this issue, and how does that help you? Hey, well, there's a lot of folks that are aware of what's going on, and we are bringing everybody in, and anybody that has dealt with housing in earnest knows that this is not a good initiative. And anybody that has been involved in local politics and understands like what's going on in the political scene understands this is a bad initiative. So after we get done defeating this initiative, then we can work together to go back to the work of how do we build a sustainable and economically vibrant Eureka. I think we can do it all together, but we've got to, unfortunately, we have to deal with this nonsense before we can get back to that, I guess, in tandem with doing that. So we're still working on that too. Messaging and all that. You're on point. So it's probably going to go on the ballot in March, is that right? So people can look forward to that? We're not sure actually yet, exactly. November was what I thought, but maybe you're right. We'll see. That may have been a different story I'm thinking of. I do a lot of them. So I appreciate that, though, and I'll be clear on that in a future episode so we can follow it. And if you guys want to come back and talk more about it as the campaign develops, we'd be happy to have you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. No problem. Stay tuned. Stay informed.